Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the brand new Tier 5 Tech Tree Japanese tank destroyer, the Honi 3. This is the start, well it's not the start, but it's the Tier 5 in the brand new Japanese tank destroyer line. And if I say it's not the start, it's because there is a Tier 3 and a Tier 4, but realistically when you're starting to get the true experience of the game, it's from when you're playing Tier 5. That's why we always start at the Tier 5 like the Honi 3. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Honi 3. What's it like? Well, it's alright. It's not really my jam as a tank destroyer, because I'm not a fan of tanks that have low alpha, high rate of fire. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think this tank is that great, because it's pretty slow. It's got a top speed of 40 kilometers an hour, which it tends to trundle at about 37, 38, as you're probably seeing here in this first replay. It's got absolutely no armour, which is fairly typical of sort of the tanks like this, right? Your gun arc is not the best. It doesn't look that far to the left and right. It looks 10 degrees to left and right, which isn't the best in the universe. And you've only got 5 degrees of gun depression, which is just yucky. And it means that on ridge lines and stuff like that, it can be pretty damn awkward for the Honi 3 to have a good time. So you've got to rely on the camo, which with the concealment I've got with this build that I'm going to tell you about, I have 228 meters of still concealment, which is actually pretty damn good. The problem is, you only actually have 310 meters view range base, which means the view range I've got it up to with the build I've got is 396, which means that, yes, my camo is fantastic, but then I don't spot things until they're pretty close, which means the camo just never feels quite right. And it means that, I don't know, it feels like you get spotted all the time in this thing. The moment you fire, you're like, oh, I'm spotted again, look at that. Which can be a little bit frustrating. Obviously, we just fire at this guy and don't get spotted because it does what it is. But we're not spotting him. So targets that you tend to spot for yourself are tanks that will actually spot you when you start firing at them, which can be a little bit frustrating in the Honi 3, because the moment you get spotted, you get instantly snapped. There is no hope for you. The moment you get spotted, something snaps you, bang, they will hit you. You've only got 450 hit points, which means that in Tier 5, well, Tier 6 and Tier 7 games, most of the time, you get 2-shot. And it just makes it very, very awkward to play. I just think the Honi 3 isn't the best tank in the universe, because it's also not the smallest of tanks either. It's not like the Semavente was, where it was quite a small, low-profile target, and it had a ridiculous gun with really good gun depression, as well as the fantastic camo, right? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this tank. You do have, though, on the stock gun, 140 penetration on the standard AP, with 180 penetration on the premium AP, which it's actually not that bad. Stock is not that much different on this tank to fully upgraded. You're just a little bit more slow, because obviously you don't really have quite as much engine power, although the engine power buff is only like 50, which is slightly negligible at times. And yeah, when you actually get the top gun, you get 150 penetration on the standard AP, with 194 penetration on the APCR, well, the premium AP, I should say, which, yeah, means that you will be able to pen pretty much everything you're going to face here at Tier 5, 6, and 7, which is great, which is naturally what you want to be doing as a tank destroyer. If you can't pen things as a tank destroyer, then, well, yeah, what is your job, right? So, 194 is great, 150 is also good. The shell velocity is 900 meters a second on the standard AP, and on the premium AP, it is 1,000 meters a second, which is pretty okay for a tank destroyer at this level. And if you're thinking, but it says it's APCR, it's because it's actually premium AP, but for some reason, they've just got no way of coding it to make premium AP in the game, or showing a premium AP round, so it just labels it as APCR. But yeah, so we've got the accuracy of this gun down to 0.28, which is pretty good. You've got 1.66 aim time, which is also fantastic for this kind of tank as well. It means that when you do come to a stop and get the gun zoomed in on target, it aims in very, very quickly. The track traverse is 35 degrees a second, which means, with the build that I've got, which means that you do spin around on the sixpence very, very quickly too. And like I say, you do have that 40 kilometers an hour top speed, which can be just a little bit limiting for the fact that you don't have any armor whatsoever, which, yeah, it's just, I don't know, the fact that you've got no armor mixed with the fact that your mobility isn't the best, mixed with everything else, just, yeah, it's not a tank that I truly enjoyed playing. So what do I run in terms of equipment and a crew? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking. Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, because I am a turretless TD, so I want to be able to turn on the 6 minutes a little bit quicker, get the gun on target a little bit more. The steady aim and run and gun to make the gun as good as possible. You know, 10% more accurate is always good. Run and gun makes the on-the-move dispersion better, which is kind of like that sort of vertical stabilizer effect, which means that the gun bloom isn't that big, and then the camouflage, expertise, and silent driving naturally to make the camo better on this tank. And then in terms of equipment, I run the advanced loader, the camo net, and optics. Advanced loader to make the DPM better, camo net to get the camo down to that 228 meters of still concealment, and the optics to be able to try and at least spot for myself. And as you've seen in that first game, it was a fairly average game. We managed to get the Confederate, the third class, 1027 base XP. Fairly average game there for the Honey 3 on that map, which was Hellfire Pass Small. And we're on to the second of 4 replays. And this one, we are on Nibelberg. And on Nibelberg, what I'm wanting to do is go over here, hopefully get to K0, but if I can't make it to K0, I can stay on this little sniper ledge at K7, K8, and thus I can shoot the people that might be at G0, or shoot the people that get spotted possibly at FG7, 8 as well. It's a good position, but naturally you do need people to spot for you, because if people aren't spotting for you, you're just not going to be able to get the shots out. And I think that's the problem for me with the Honey 3 as well. I mean, it's a very tank destroyer-y problem for tier 5s, really, because a lot of the tier 5 tank destroyers naturally have very, very low view range. But I just feel like I'm beholden to my team in this tank way too much, because if I get spotted, I'm basically dead. Like I will get shot to pieces, and it's a bit of a struggle. And while I do have pretty decent DPM and, you know, a pretty decent reload, as you see in here at 2.7 seconds for that 130 damage, it just means that most of the other tanks at this tier are hitting me just as quickly. So I can't out-DPM things, I can't out-trade things because I don't have the alpha power. And then, to add to that, if I get spotted in an awkward position, I don't really have the mobility to get out of the position either. Because only 40 kph, and because we're sluggish and slow to get up to it, it just means that we're trapped once we're in that sort of location. And it means that you've got to use the camo and distance to your advantage. But the problem is, if no one's spotted, because you have such poor view range at 310 base, and you know, you've only got it up to a max of 396, I mean, if I was to run vents, it'd get a little bit better. You're basically stuck. It is what it is. Because you can't spot things, and then the moment that you do spot them, they're probably a little bit too close to be able to actually use your DPM and gun to not get spotted. The only hope you've got is if you go against tanks like this M4 Sherman over here that is clearly stock and doesn't have the best view range in the universe. Which, yeah, it just means you're stuck to your team, which means if your team falls apart and doesn't spot very much, it's going to fall apart very, very quickly, and while you'll end up having a pretty good damage score, you're probably going to lose the battle, which can be a little bit sad, and especially if you're grinding through this line, which most of you probably will be at this point, means your XP total is going to be far, far lower. So as you can see on this game on Nibelberg, we've got 1,621 damage so far with 25 assistance, and our team is crumbling. We're at 11 tanks left on their team, 7 on ours, make that 6, and it's slowly but surely falling apart everywhere. We've been non-stop firing in this game. There's not much more we could have done so far. It's like we've got to a position, we've just been non-stop battling, but it doesn't seem to have made a difference. So I decided, okay, I can't stay in that position I was in there. I have to fall back, because I'm starting to get shot from the hill. I'm starting to get shot from pretty much everywhere, which is pretty awkward, so we're not dealing with that. We're going to pull back to this little position here so that we can start shooting people like the KV2. And if we can get rid of the KV2, that would be great. But again, like, because we don't have that higher alpha, once we start shooting him, he goes, oh no, I'm being shot, and thus starts to move into a position that he can get away from us. And then, yeah, it's a position where our pretty good DPM doesn't even really matter for much, really. And we do get the shot in to shut down the ELC. There's the KV2. It's like, well, okay, the KV2 is just fine. I'm going to get another shot into him before I pull back. We actually take a hit from the right that only tractors. We've got the VK3001P just up above. We turn around, and just as we get there, well, he blows himself up. But we get a shot into the side of the KV222, and I was hoping to possibly set that thing on fire, because it does like to burn. But we get another shot into his side, and here comes our death. It is a Cromwell B. Can I get round in time? Not really, because 34 degrees a second track traverse is still not the best for this kind of tank. you know, something like, and I do compare it because that's the last tank destroyer line that came out, the Semovente, right? That thing turns very quickly. If I was in that tank, I would have been able to turn to get that Cromwell B, but in the Ho-Ni, unfortunately, I couldn't. But we finished that game with 3.1k damage. The second class, the high caliber, 950 base XP on a loss, which 3.1k damage is a really, really good score for a tier 5 tank destroyer, but it's just a shame that we couldn't win that game. It just, yeah. Again, it's one of those games, and that's the problem that I feel for myself, which is why I'm not a big fan of tanks like this, right? Where I am really at the behest of my team, like, there's not much I can do in a few situations because I don't have the armor, I don't have the V-range, I have good camo, but I don't have the trading power, and yeah, the moment you get spotted, it's like, bam, instantly shot, and instantly penned, like, there is no hope for that, and especially with the way the accuracy is as well, it just means that, yeah, the moment you get spotted, people can just RBRT and bang, hit you instantly, which is just a little bit frustrating. It's different if you're in a tank that's got no armor like this, but if you had something like stopping power, you know, the stopping power, right? So if you were like in the G-Row, which is the next one, you've got 300 alpha, which is really good for a tier 6, which means you can trade pretty effectively. Something hits you for, like, what's just happened here? That guy hit us for about 120. We hit him for 130. It hurts me far more than him. He's a tier 4 medium. He's got 100 more hit points than I have. And there's not much I can do about that. Obviously, I could camp at the back at A7, but if nothing comes this way, then I'm just going to end up sitting at the back of the map for no reason. And we'll end up just sitting and waiting for our team to die, right? Which is a bit awkward. But yeah, like, we got spotted, I managed to snap a shot into him, and he was looking the other way and managed to instantly get the shot into us, which is, yeah, a bit of pain for us against that Panzer 3J. But we're up to 239 damage, we get spotted again from behind, it's like, what is that? It's a TD, okay? Oh, it's a Ho-Ni 1, which is quite weird, actually, to be honest, because the Ho-Ni 1 has a really big gun at tier 4, and then you come up to this gun, and this is just a little put-put gun, and then you get up to the G-Row at tier 6 and you've got 300 alpha again. It's like, oh, it's quite, you know, it's quite random that this tank doesn't have, say, like 200 alpha or 240 alpha. It would have been nice to keep that consistency going right from tier 4 onwards, but hey ho, is what it is. And then, yeah, you know, that it's basically a staple of the line, really, is the fact that they tend to have slightly higher alpha than average. But it is what it is. And yeah, Nibelberg, we are chasing after this Ho-Ni 3 now, who is our opposite, and we do get the shot snapped in to track him and finish him off. We're up to 470 damage with 2 kills, 184 assistance. The artillery was looking at us. We get detected as we pull around the corner. I'm thinking, what is it? Oh, it's a Panzer 3J. We couldn't see the Panzer 3J until he fired. Just looking for the shot now, and I have no idea where that shot went. That looked like it should have flown true, but sadly, it doesn't go anywhere near. We're now half health, which is awkward. What we're going to do is push down the 0 line and try and loop around into the back of their base, because that Panzer 3J is full sending away. And that makes me think, if that Panzer 3J is running away like that, is there anything in their base? Well, let's go find out. And like I say, naturally, we might be at the point where we will detect something at the same time it detects us, unless we detect it at the far extent of our camo. But if we do spot it, the moment we shoot at it, we're going to get spotted. It's just what it is. Like I say, the camo just feels, even though it is 228 meters of still concealment, right? The camo on this tank doesn't feel that great for me. It's like fire gets spotted, although we were on the move, so I suppose. We shot at that M4 improved and hit something else? What? Okay. Sure, I don't know what I hit there, but yeah, I feel like with the arty detected going off, that we missed the M4 improved, and the shell went and hit the artillery. I feel like that's what happened, but I don't really know. But we found the AFK M4 improved, we got rid of him with our team, and there's a bishop on the enemy team, back in the little piggy pen that's on Nibelberg. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push so that I can try and spot down this line, because there's shots coming down it from my team in that. There's the Panzer 3J from earlier on. We did spot it up, but we couldn't quite see it. There's the Hetzer, and he's just as blind as we are, because he's got no view range. He's actually not going to spot us when we fire at him. I was pretty confident of firing at the Hetzer and not getting spotted. There's the Panzer the Panzer SFL 4B, which is the tier 4 artillery. We end up not quite finishing them off. We sling a shot at the Panzer 3J. Oh, and sadly, the shot just missed him. And he managed to get a shot into us, which puts us down to basically a one-shot for everything in the game, or for most things in this game, which is definitely very awkward. And I'm just watching the corner. We're just watching the corner to see if this Panzer 3J will come back. Because if this Panzer 3J comes back, it's like, come on then, Mr. Panzer 3J. Do it. Do it. We pop a shot blind to see if, because you never know, it might be one of those things where, because I don't trust the view range on this tank, I thought maybe there's a possibility that Panzer 3J was back on that corner and I just couldn't see it. But we didn't hit it. We're now going to go pressure the artillery, get rid of the threat to our left-hand flank, and then I was possibly thinking of capping. So we get rid of that Panzer 4B, or the Panzer 4 SFLB, right? Or Panzer... We'll get there. The Panzer SFL4B. It's because it doesn't make sense in my brain because there's so many Panzer 4s. It's like Panzer 4, no, Panzer SFL4. Oh, come on. We come around the corner. There's the Panzer 3J from earlier because I did have that feeling that he was possibly going to come and try and defend the cap. We pop around the corner, get lucky the Bishop doesn't kill us. We high roll to kill the M4, and we make a mistake. We should have just pulled back around the corner because that Bishop was always going to shoot us again. And sadly, the Bishop managed to finish us off. But we finished with the victory, the 6 kills, 1,537 damage, 306 assistance, the top gun, the second class, with 1,199 base XP. A pretty decent game there for the Ho-Ni 3 on Nibelberg. And again, I think that replay showed it was a little bit awkward for this tank on Nibelberg because there's not many positions where you can camp and wait for people to shoot at, but at the same time, you also need to not be sat too far back for too long, because at that point you start to throw away your advantage. But we did manage to use the gun pretty well, and yeah, it just showed that the moment that things look at you, like I say, that they don't miss. They don't miss, and you just end up getting shot to pieces, which can be a little bit frustrating. But we're on to the fourth and final replay of this video, and we are on this map, which is Nomini Nom. And on Nomini Nom, we are going to go to the ridgelines at CD4, because the ridgelines at CD4 are a very important place to go for your team, realistically, on this map, because this is where Nomini Nom's a little bit imbalanced, I feel, on this flank, because if we take these positions on this ridgeline, we basically cut off their entire defense of the flank and reduce them to camping on E1-2, and even then, it means that we can start to cut them off and just completely destroy their ability to camp, because you can get up onto the ridgelines and get shots into the side, spot them for the people that might camp safely at A3, A4, and you can get a lot of assistance and a lot of damage by using these positions. For a tank destroyer like this, it might be a little bit awkward though, because obviously we don't have a turret, which means that we have to be wary of where we're shooting all the time and where we're trying to get shots at. And also, we don't have any view range, which is also makes this entire fight just a little bit awkward, because it means that the people that might be at E1, if we had view range, the people at E1 would be spotted. But because we don't really have any, it means the people at E1, we just can't spot half the time unless they fire, which is just, yeah, it's a bit frustrating. So this Churchill 1 crosses the open, and we had to pull back to get safe because he could see us and he tried to shoot us instantly. And I said most of the time, when people see you and you are spotted, they lock on and they will hit you instantly. But thankfully for us, that Churchill 1 missed. I didn't expect the Churchill 1 to just drive out. We get spotted again by the medium tank that crossed behind us, but we're going to keep trying to get some shots into this Churchill 1. And we're just going to keep ourselves moving. You can see I'm just wiggling, moving, because if I'd sat still in the same spot, we would have lost hit points for 100% certain. But by moving, we made it as difficult as possible for them to get shots at us, and yeah, we managed to get away with it. But that's where it's a bit of an issue not having the sort of... This is where I'm not the biggest fan of tanks that don't have alpha, right, or you know, the faster firing, higher DPM tank destroyers. I feel like I don't have that trading power, so I don't have the ability to, you know, pop a shot for 300, hit someone, and then get myself back into safety. If I want to do the damage, I have to be like this right here, where I have to stay in a position where I can shoot and keep the damage and just keep the gun firing, and that's how I'm going to do the damage. But that leaves you open to taking more hits. Now, sadly, I made a mistake, which was I pulled forward a little bit too far and gave the guys on the ridgeline on my right-hand side the ability to shoot us, which means we're now basically a one-shot for most of the tanks on the enemy team. The M4A1 FL10 managed to get shut down behind us though, so we know we're not going to get shot from behind, which is decent. We just got to be very, very careful. This is again where the 5 degrees gun depression as well that this tank has is, again, it's a little bit awkward for the Ho-Ni, because it means I have to really come all the way over this ridgeline to get shots at people, which is awkward, because naturally that means I have to come all the way over, and because my reverse speed on this tank is 15 kilometers an hour, which isn't actually that bad, but it's still a little bit slow. It means that I take a little bit of time to get back behind that ridge line, and naturally, like I say, if you get spotted, the moment you get spotted, you get instantly snapped, and thus they hit you, and you lose all your hit points just like that, which, yeah, frustrating. But yeah, we've pulled back, though, because I was afraid of that Chaffee. That Chaffee was making it awkward, and that position against that rock was just, it was getting to a point where their tanks have pushed down the 2 line, and they were in a position where maybe they were going to get shots at me. But we have got shots towards the Ho-Ni 3 on the ridge over here, and yet again, he's got good camo, but he's not got very good view range, same as me, which means, again, if I shoot at him, I know that I'm probably going to be safe. The Chaffee is moving in the distance. There's a KV-85, so I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's try and pummel some shots towards this KV-85. But I'm starting to look at the map going, we've lost this flank. This flank's gone. If I stay here, I'm guaranteed dead, because I don't have the gun depression to get shots down on these guys. They will. But I think, you know what? Maybe I can get a shot or 2 into the KV-85. But yet again, I managed to get the sneaky, cheeky shot into the KV-85. But I only hit him for like 130. He instantly snaps the gun on target and hits us. And we're down to a definite one-shot now for everything. I think we were very lucky to not to die there. I think that KV-85 is actually stock. But, yeah, so that flank's gone. So we have to move on. And because we were in a very good position there, but we just didn't have the tools to use it effectively, because we couldn't spot the people that were camping. And sadly, their light tanks were pushing forward and spotting the people that were camping for us. And they managed to push down and, well, basically take out the flank. But what I needed to do was not sit in that same spot, because again, if I sat in that same spot, I was going to die, because I could get shot in the side at that point. And we've moved on to the next defensive location, where we could try and hopefully catch them on the cross and defend our cap. So we're just going to poke out around the corner of this rock. We've got the KV-85 in front of us. We're just trying to get the gun depression. There we go. We managed to get one shot into the KV-85. And we're going to pull out around the side and see, if we can get the shot in. But it's just a little bit awkward because of that lack of gun depression. We end up ricocheting off of the KV-85. We lose the gun depression, though, and we can't quite get the gun on target. We do that time, though, and we managed to shut down the KV-85, but sadly get spotted ourselves. We're now going to put some shots into this T-34-88 while he's distracted, but now he's shut down that guy. We are detected. We get lucky that the stuff across there isn't actually managing to hit us. They are missing. And we're just going to try and use the mobility to get out of dodge once again. You can see, because we've only got a 40 kilometer an hour top speed, we just struggle to get away. We can't quite get far enough away to go flank to get away. We just have to try and get to the next defensive location. And if we can, try and hopefully do it and help where we can. So there's a Chaffee in the open over here. And I think, okay, I know it's a Chaffee, I know it's a light tank, but he is a good 400 meters away. I fire at the Chaffee spots us. And it's like, for goodness sake, like, I thought 400 meters away, my camo against that Chaffee would work, and I wouldn't get spotted. But sadly, the Chaffee just instantly spotted us, which meant we couldn't shut him down, and we had to pull back. And it also gave the enemy team the information of where we were. So I think, well, at this point, we've lost. So what I'm going to do is try and get some cheeky shots into the T-34-88. But once again, you're seeing the lack of gun depression made it exceptionally awkward on that ridgeline to even get any shots at the T-34-88. And I decided, okay, we're gonna accept our death, but we're gonna put ourselves in a position where maybe we can get 1 or 2 extra shots out towards them before we go down. Because the heavy tank is in towards their cap, but he's fighting an artillery, and they do have tank destroyers sitting at F3 as well, which means that it's probably going to get shut down by them. And I also have a light tank and a T-34-88 chasing after us. So we flank round to a different spot, and again, our mobility just isn't good enough. Before we managed to get up hidden in the ridge, the T-34-88 managed to spot us, and there's the annoyance of the accuracy, right? He managed to full on the move, full rotation, full turret rotation, just snap the shot straight into us, even though his gun is fairly inaccurate, and we got shut down. And we finished the game with the 1 kill, 2.5k damage, 837 assistance, the 3rd class, top of the team on a loss, which is a sad time. Again, it showed what the tank is capable of, but just showed also the frustrations that I have with this vehicle. It's one that I'm probably not going to play that often. It's tier 5 anyway, but I'm probably not going to play that often because it's just not me. It's just not me as a tank. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Great success!